What's going on, folks? Thank you for joining us here on Super Bowl Sunday. Joe Holmes, Baker Street Timepieces here, and
Tim Holmes, Baker Street Timepieces over here.
awesome. Well, we're glad to have you with us. I think we got some fun stuff to walk through on the show today, so we're happy to kind of do that. Starting off with, why don't we do an official wristwatch check? That way we don't forget this, like we did last time.
Yeah, that's better than last week's abomination. Go ahead.
What are you rocking this week? Come on.
I'm rocking one of the watches we'll be highlighting later on, as I'm wont to do. We were just talking about a pre-stream. I am trying to make my peace with the Omega Aqua Terra, so I am wearing the Omega Aqua Terra Spectre
Close
edition,
enough.
and I'm spazzing out in front of this camera here. There
There
we
you
go.
go. We can tell it's an
Yeah.
Omega Aqua Terra, so that's about what we got from that beautiful cinematography you did there.
Yeah, there you go. I like it. I'm actually enjoying it. I was wearing the silver one yesterday, and that we have, and then when I was getting all the watches out for it today, I was looking at the blue teak dial, and I said, you know what, I'm going to wear that for the day. So I threw this one
Nice.
on.
I love it. I went with
What do you
the
got?
Black Bay 58 in burgundy. I know you can't really see it well. Let's see if I can get it under the lens for us so you can so the world can take a peek at it. But obviously, I think through a couple of the streams that we've done here, I think people know kind of our feelings on, or at least my feelings on the Black Bay 58. And this one in particular is no stranger to that. So let's see. Yeah, I just love the burgundy dial, the burgundy bezel. I think, the size of it all around, even with some beefy wrists, I feel really good about wearing it. So that's the piece I decided to go with today. Wore it all day. I don't know, super comfortable to wear. Just a big fan of it. So that's what's on the wrist for me today.
Yeah, no, looks good. I always forget you have that watch. That's a nice one.
What's funny is I actually just went ahead and ordered the Jubilee bracelet for it. There was
Oh,
somebody was selling one of the Jubilee bracelets, and I was like, ugh, it's way more expensive than I want it to be, but at the same time, it would be cool to have the versatility. So I went ahead and picked that one up. So I should have that by next week, which will be cool.
yeah, and by next week, I'll actually have a new personal piece. We were just talking about it prior to stream, so we'll talk about it next week when I get it. We'll feature it.
Nice.
It is the most low-key, inexpensive watch I can buy, so which is cool. But I'm going to take it on vacation, so it's my vacation watch.
There you go. We'll debut that one next week, I suppose.
Sounds good.
So we're keeping it up with a special code to give you $50 off anything that we have in stock. We're actually keeping the code the same, so it's Watson234. If there is something you've been seeing on the website, but you're like, you know what? If that was $50 cheaper, I'd buy it. Just throw Watson234 in there, and we'll take care of that. You get $50 off it today, just for listening in here to the stream. So hopefully somebody finds a watch that they think is worthy of that $50 discount.
Save yourself $50 and be entered into the contest for the end of the month
There you
to
go.
win a merch pack as Joe lifts up some merch.
Listen, a
Um,
merch pack. What more could you need? You could get
you've
exactly
got
this
half the
right here.
merch pack on.
There you go.
But
Anyways,
yeah, so yeah, please continue to check out the website. The new merch is up and running. From what we've seen, the samples we've gotten in, everything looks pretty cool. So hopefully, something that you guys are interested in. I'm using the knockoff Yeti mug. So anyway, that's what we got.
I don't know if I can get to it. Let's see if I can make it work. But no, apparently not. The
Oh,
embroidering
there it
on
is.
the little pups on the side, I think looks really cool. So that's been one of my favorite parts of the sweatshirt. So if you are lucky enough to win a merch pack, you'll get one of these. But
Awesome.
anywho, what do we got?
So what are we gonna go over today? We got the dispatch section. We'll do a little industry news, some
Yes, sir.
updates, a lot of new pieces from some big brands, Breitling, IWC,
Yeah,
even Audemars Piguet, if I'm
that's
pronouncing that
right.
correctly. And then we'll get into some evidence locker stuff, some new stuff that came in. Next week's going to be hairy. I think we might have to have an extra long stream just to handle all the new stuff coming in this week. And then last but not least, we'll wind it down with a little breakdown of the Aqua Terra as a whole. And I think
Yes,
that'll
sir.
take us through the day.
All right, you want to kick off some dispatch then? What do we got for industry news?
Yeah. So a couple of kind of like top notes as we looked at the last couple of weeks and specifically the first week in February. I think the overall secondary market, which is obviously where Baker Street Timepieces lives and breathes, we're seeing prices continue to stabilize a little.
Yep.
I can tell you, and I don't think I'm betraying any super secret trust that we have with our wholesalers. Uh, I have seen, and Joe, I know you've commented you do a little more of the buying than I do. The wholesale market is sliding upward a little bit,
Yeah.
but I think the retail market is staying stable. So if I take those two bits of information in and run it through the ChatGPT hamster wheel that's in between my ears, that would tell me that anything that's available right now to buy is probably about as cheap as you're going to find it.
Yeah.
Because I would say you're going to see a little bit of that wholesale push up towards the end of February into March. So just my 2 cents on the pre-owned slash secondary market. So
Yeah, I would
any
concur.
thoughts there?
Some of the pieces that I've been looking to obviously purchase so that we can get quality inventory for our customers. I would say I'm seeing between 5 up to almost 10, maybe 15% on certain pieces in terms of kind of a tick up in what the asks are on the wholesale side. So I would agree with you that I haven't seen that 100% translate through to the retail side quite yet, but I think it's coming. I think you're probably going to see a slight uptick in prices. I would say over the next 4 to 6 weeks. And I don't think it's going to be a crazy uptick, but again, I think you wouldn't be surprised to see 5 to 10% on the secondary market, especially for
Yeah.
those, I would say, like $3,000 to $5,000 pieces, kind of like the sweet spot of a lot of the stuff that we have. All of those I've seen like a slight uptick in terms of what we can potentially obtain them for. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. One thing I would stress also is that we kind of called it early on that we expected a rise. I'm shocked to see the rise on the wholesale side before the retail side. I think retail usually will push, because it's usually supply demand, right? So as
Sure.
supply is more
Limited.
restricted, demand goes up, prices go up. But in this case, I think that you're seeing demand on the wholesale side. Folks like us are trying to buy, and there's not as much inventory out there, and that's driving the retail price. So
Yeah,
I think that's the expectation on the market this side.
I'm
Cool.
with
And
you.
then the
So if
other,
that
go
happens, you
ahead.
heard it here first. If it doesn't
Yeah,
happen, we didn't say anything. So don't worry about
we didn't say anything. Yeah. I still say buy all the watches we have in stock now, but that's just me being a business owner that wants to sell watches. Cool. And then the other thing I think that kind of confirms a little bit more of what we were just talking about from a broader market perspective. Some Swatch Group news. For those that don't know, Swatch Group owns I think like 20 of the luxury pre-owned brands, including Omega, which is probably the biggest one that we deal with. And they are continuing to accelerate their price increases internally on the new side, which I think they are continuing to see drive, secondary market pricing, and they have basically upticked their forecast for 2026. So good news all around for those of us that collect. Our collections are probably becoming more valuable, and probably a little bit of a call to action that if there's something that you've been debating for the last 4 6 months, trigger time might be now to get the cheaper price that you would want on something that you're going to add to your collection. So
Makes
cool.
sense to me. What do we say? You want to jump into some of
Um,
the new releases or what?
yeah, yeah, you drive those, Joe. Some of that stuff we looked at earlier is pretty wild looking, so let's get into it.
Let's do it. All right, so Breitling. So I mean this seems to be industry wide. Pretty much every watch brand at this point is trying to get some piece of this F1 phenomenon. Now, I personally am
Yeah.
not big into F1. I wouldn't know all the names and all that stuff. However, it's funny kind of watching even as kind of like a more mainstream sport. More and more people, even around the office, are just talking about F1. It's become, way more popular than I feel like it probably was, maybe even 6 to 9 months ago. But I think what you're seeing is some of the watch brands are kind of following suit in terms of, kind of trying to get a piece of it. So Breitling, I guess, teamed up with the Aston F1 team, and it looks like Navitimer here. Titanium Navitimer. I guess those are green accents. Keep me honest on this. I'm colorblind.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Mr. Colorblind. Those are like
I mean,
lime green accents.
it's cool looking. I guess my first takeaway is it doesn't feel like a Navitimer type of thing that they should have collaborated on for me personally. Right? Navitimer has kind of always had an aviation history. Like, I don't know why we're trying to shoehorn motorsports into the Navitimer lineup. I feel like we could have probably went more with like a Chronomat or something along those lines. But either way, I don't know. Doesn't really work for me. I mean, it's a cool looking watch. I would own it for the fact that it's a cool looking watch, not necessarily its ties to motorsport. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, a couple. So you missed the obvious link, which is the top time link,
Sure.
because that's where they've been messing around in motorsport, right? They have a
Good
Shelby,
call.
they have the Deus Motorcycle one, they have the Corvette one, which I almost
Oh
bought
man.
one, to make some content with my currently dead in the garage Corvette. But I went to go start it the other day. It laughed at me. It's been too cold for too long. Yeah. Um, but I also understand that as kind of the focal point piece in their lineup, m- matching it up with a Navitimer is probably not the worst thing they can do as far as actually selling more pieces is concerned.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give him that. I've always been a Breitling guy. In fact, for years I was Breitling over everything else kind of a guy. I've had probably 8 or 9 Breitlings that I've owned throughout my
Yeah.
collection, and I love the Navitimer. I still think it's probably one of the better looking watches that you can buy.
Yep.
Um, that all to say, I mean, I love the fact that they made the secondary wacky color subtle, and that we can't say about all the other ones we're about to show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
I don't know. Kind of feels like I don't know, a swing and a miss to me. However, I mean, I think it looks cool. I guess that strap is designed to sort of look a little bit seatbelty, which I think is kind of interesting. I like the strap more than I'd say I like the collaboration. Cool looking watch, I
yeah.
would say. Definitely not something I'd be putting in my collection, but to each their own.
Yep. All right, what else we got? What's next?
Next up, so Formula One yet again. We're back to IWC, who's had a couple of other pieces with the Petronas line, with the collaboration with the Mercedes team. So this is George Russell's signature piece. So there's 2 pieces in general. There's one of them that's a pilot piece, and then one of them that's this one that you're seeing here. So what is this? The Mark X, whatever it is. I don't know, Mark 10, Mark 12,
Yeah,
something like
Mark
that.
20, I think.
Mark 2000.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the color of the band. I like how they've kind of, brought that through to the indices and hands and loom plots. And I guess this is a black ceramic case, which I always think
Yep.
is kind of fun. But I know black ceramic to me usually just means they're going to charge you a ton more for the watch. So, cool looking, very specific. I don't think it's going to be something you're going to be able to wear all over, but if you're into motorsports and this is a team that you follow, it's certainly something you could consider.
Yeah. So I think kind of the reverse of the Breitling conversation we just had, where the extra color was a little bit more subtle. This is obviously right in your face. It's
Sure.
everywhere. And I think I would pay more for this watch if it came with 2 bands and a quick swap.
Looks like it has the
Give
quick
me,
swap.
yeah, well, IWC has that true. So yeah, I
Yeah.
would pay more if it had a traditional like black leather band and this band, because then I could
Nice.
dress it up a little bit more and not be so obvious that I'm wearing, a racing support watch.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't know the list price on, but I'm guessing it's probably just around 10 grand. And for $10,000 to have something that you really can only wear somewhat limitedly, I think
Yep.
they'd be smarter if they gave me a black strap with it, and I'd pay 10.5 for it. But past that, the only other thing I can think of, when you were cycling through the kind of like that video animation,
Yeah.
that guy's number 63, I think it's a missed opportunity. They could have used that font for at least the 6 in the dial.
Mm.
That would
Yeah.
have been a cool little callback
Nod.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So IWC, if you want to hire me, you'll have to buy my stake in Baker Street Timepieces, which is currently valued at about $1 billion, I think, and then that's about it. So
I'm pretty sure they could afford to bring you on staff if they decided they wanted to. But yes, I get your point.
yeah, yeah,
And then secondarily is the same thing, but kind of in that true pilot watch. I mean, I think this looks awesome. I just don't know where I'd wear it. And to spend the amount of money they're going to be asking for this for something that I don't feel like I could wear for 4 days out of the week, I just don't think it works for me. But again,
that's
not a
my
huge
point too.
motorsport
Yeah.
guy.
I mean, listen, Flieger chronograph is fun, and it's kind of
Yep.
interesting that you have 2 of the major players in Flieger chronographs, in the Breitling and in the IWC, both of which have very little to do with ground speed. So
Good point. I don't know. We got a couple
take that
folks
for
in the
what it's
chat. I'd
worth.
be interested to hear what everybody thinks of these kind of releases. I think
Yeah.
brands are going a little bit bolder, which I think is kind of fun. It takes that kind of like stuffy idea of watches and watchmaking and makes it a little bit more, I guess, young and hip, which neither of us are, I hate to say. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I don't know. Doesn't really do it for me. And at, $13,000 for this particular piece, that's a tough ask for me. But
Oh, I thought it was only 10. 13's a lot. Here's a
13,000.
watch I'd buy.
This is a cool looking piece. Yeah, so this
Yeah,
is
I'd buy that.
this is Christopher Ward collab with what's his name from Bark and Jack? Adrian Barker. There we go.
Yeah.
I think this looks great, to be honest with you. I think I would buy this over either of the other ones, and this is probably 1/10, if not better the price point. I think the strap option looks great. I think that kind of like matte black dial looks really cool.
Yep.
Generally speaking, I think it's a great looking watch.
I would happily take that on the strap. That
Yeah.
strap is cool enough to call some attention to itself and not as bright and loud as the other two things that we just took a look at. And like you said, I could buy that and buy a very nice pre-owned car with the savings.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hell, you could buy a sports car you could buy a Miata with the savings. You could buy that car and have a Miata and then go racing in the Miata for a full season for roughly the same cost. So,
or you could buy this
will
Christopher
put it there.
Ward, then you could buy a cheaper Navitimer, and you could probably buy an
Still buy a
actual
Miata.
pilot watch from IWC, as long as you don't need it to be ceramic and yada yada yada. So
There you go. Yeah, 3
I
watches
think it's cool.
or a
I think it
Miata.
shows a little bit of like that kind of influencers and watches kind of getting to collaborate with micro brands. I think Christopher Ward continues to be, I think, pretty impressive in terms of the stuff that they're churning out. They've had great variety, and generally speaking, I think they're doing some really fun stuff. So I applaud this one over the others, actually.
Yeah, it gets my nod too. And any micro brands that would be interested in hiring us as consultants, and we could put together a brand collab. Again, only $1 billion for Baker
That's
Street
right.
timepieces, and we're in. You got it.
I love it.
Make it
All
happen.
right. Next up, this is just wild, the releases here. I mean, some of it is just nuts. I mean, that's a pocket watch. We'll kind of scroll down here in a second. You can take a look at it. Then we have like a full Skeleton Works perpetual, and then we have this insane kind of retro looking jump hour. I mean, obviously insane pieces all around. I don't know. Do people wear pocket watches? I don't know. But look at that thing.
I think it's awesome.
think
And if
it's
somebody
great.
buys Baker Street for $1 billion, I will get online to buy one of these.
If you want to be the coolest guy at the Peaky Blinders Halloween party, this is the one to buy right here.
Exactly. I mean, listen, high horology or aught horology, however you like to, look at it. Super, super cool stuff. They build things because they can. And then they'll find the one person in the world who wants to buy it for whatever 7-digit number I'm sure is attached to this thing. Just so you know, that pocket watch is a split timer. So it's kind of like a pocket watch and a stopwatch built together, all attached to a platinum chain. So
Insane.
for whatever circumstances you could figure out that you might need something like that, AP's got you covered. Just ring up your local AP boutique and they'll tell you that you can't have one anyway. So
that thing is absolutely bonkers. I think it looks great.
Cool.
Again, split
Cool as hell.
seconds,
I'd love it too,
nuts.
but it's never going to be on either of our wrists or in either of our inventories.
Or pockets.
Yeah.
Pockets. Second one, Perpetual Calendar, Open Works. I mean, this thing is absolutely bonkers as well.
Yep.
I don't know. It's interesting. Like, I feel like that whole Open Works thing, I feel like when I see it in person, I really respect and admire all the craftsmanship and work that goes into it. But for whatever reason in pictures, it just doesn't impress me as much. So like, I don't know. I've had the opportunity to kind of handle not this exact watch, but obviously some watches similar, and like it's always incredibly impressive to look at. And then for me, I just don't think it'd be something that I would wear per se. But that's also as somebody who can't wear one anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Do we know the price on any of these things, or is it totally irrelevant? Is it like 7-digit nightmare numbers?
I have not pulled them up, but we can take a look after.
I can see this watch on one of those red rubber straps on Mr. Wonderful's wrist, and he'll be bragging about all the things it does, and he has no idea how to use it. Is pretty much what I'm assuming is going to happen with that watch.
I mean, listen, He does know a lot more than you'd give him credit for, I feel like. And he's
Yeah,
also started wearing some micro brands and weird stuff. He's wearing 2 watches on his wrists at all times now. He's kind of a crazy guy.
that's the Teddy Baldessar influence. And
The
again,
influence.
no offense meant, Mr. Leary. If you're interested, Baker Street Timepieces partner and collab with you. Only a only $750 million for you, because that, you're a player in the space. We'll go on Shark
No,
Tank, Joe. That's what
there
we'll
you
do.
go. Super cool
All right,
piece. And then this, I
love
think,
it.
is the wildest out of the release, other than that pocket watch. But for a more traditional kind of put it on your wrist, I mean, this is just super cool looking. It's got vintage. It almost like at a glance looks like an Apple Watch, but it's so much cooler in my opinion. But it's really, really cool.
It's gold. So now, like, I'm the Sultan of Brunei or something. I'm wearing that watch. I think it's awesome looking.
Oh,
If I were a gold guy and, again, a billionaire, sure, I'm all over it. I love it. I'm
yeah.
in. Sold.
I think it's great looking. The jump hour is obviously a super cool complication where kind of once it gets to the end, it flips back to zero. So
Yep.
I don't know, really, really cool. I think at least pushing the envelope a little bit. We didn't get, what, 6 more Royal Oaks or something along those lines with
Yep.
different comic book characters and things like that. So I think this is kind of a nod to, them continuing to evolve, even though they probably don't need to.
I'm
Other
in.
than that, given the time frame, I don't know if anybody's been watching any of the Olympics, but we have some of the spotlights on the Olympic pieces. So these are some of the new
Yep.
releases from Omega with, obviously the Olympics taking place now. I thought this, so I'm kind of a sucker for it. I've had the White Planet Ocean before. I've had watches similar to this. I do wish it had a bracelet, but obviously I think with the ceramic case, it's probably not applicable. I think it looks awesome, but I also get this feeling like it's a Zamboni that's just not finished clearing off the dial. It's like it put the Olympic outline here, and it's just not necessarily finished cleaning up the ice. But I don't know. I think it's a cool nod to the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, I think, for me personally, I agree 1,000%. On the stainless steel bracelet, I'm probably interested in this watch. As
Agreed.
it sits with all of that white, it's just too much for me, and I can't envision myself wearing it. So,
Yeah. I wonder if there's other
which
strap
brings us to the
options.
next one.
This one is, I think, awesome. We've had the ability to
That
actually
looks.
handle this watch, which is cool.
I was gonna say, it looks familiar.
Yeah. So we had one of these. I would say maybe about a month ago. We had it. Basically, a client was looking for one. We were able to find it for them, and I think this to me looks great. A little bit smaller. I think this
Yep.
is 38 millimeter, so a little small for what I would want. I do like the 26 down there being kind of the nod to the Olympics emblem. But yeah, cool looking piece for sure. And I like how the blue kind of breaks up the all whiteness a little bit.
Yeah, I think, for as unwearable as I considered the previous model, I think this is hyper wearable.
Yep.
You're going to get a lot of usage out of this. And I can also see this on a black strap or a blue strap, and kind of taking it in a very different direction. So it gives you kind of that double watch situation.
Yeah.
And then I'll do a quick shameless plug here, because you kind of coasted over it. But this is a great example of a hot piece, a piece that's doing over retail, that we
Yep.
were able to get to a customer before the Olympics even started. They had one of the first ones in the country. So, anybody who stumbles across this video by accident, or for those of you that are on the stream, we can get you anything you want. So if there's anything that you're looking for, give us the heads up. Might take us a little bit of time, but you'll be helping the boys out, find you something, and more importantly, you'll get that watch that's really special at the right time for yourself, which is pretty
Sure.
cool. And that's always very satisfying for us as people to broker, is to get somebody something they really want in the moment that they really want it. So
We've been on the other side of that conversation, and we know what it's like when you finally get it delivered. So we understand.
yeah, 100%.
And then I'm trying to think what the last release was here. Let's see if I can flip over. Yeah, this was just kind of interesting. It's like a retro style Seamaster in all gold with gold indices. I didn't know. It wouldn't say it's part of the Olympic collection to me right off the bat, but they put it in with the Olympic collection, so I figured it was worth us highlighting at least. I
Yeah.
guess cool. I don't know. Doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I mean, for my money, if I'm gonna buy an 18 karat gold dress watch on a strap, I'm probably not thinking Omega Olympic line. But
Yeah,
it's a cool watch. Maybe they did it for, I don't know, heads of state or something. I have no idea. But it's just Sure, it's there. It
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
nice. I mean, there's certainly nothing offensive about it. I
No, for
mean,
sure.
if I had one in my jewelry case, I'd wear it to the next formal occasion that I had, but that's about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So,
But would you though? Would you grab that over some of the pieces you already have?
no.
That's what I'm saying. It's I mean it's cool, but I just don't know where it fits into any collection.
I
But hey, to each their own.
listen,
That's the beauty of
it's
this stuff.
I was going to say it may be a little bit lesser. A lot of people like to wear 18 karat yellow gold or even rose gold. I'm a
Sure.
giant fan. If you're going to wear gold, 18 karat white because it looks just like stainless steel, and even better than that is platinum.
Sure.
You know what you got.
A little
The other people
understated.
don't need to think that much about it. A little
Yeah.
understated.
Cool. All right, that wraps up our dispatch. So you've gotten some good information now, hopefully, on what the market is doing for the week. And now I
Yeah,
think we'll have an opportunity to dive into some fresh evidence that we got, some stuff that we have in stock. So correct me if I'm wrong, but we're starting off with case 220. So we're starting off with the PAM, correct?
yeah, that's what's loaded up. Yeah, let's get it in view. Let's get it under the lens. Woo,
There you go.
like that watch. The last one of these that we had, I almost bought, and I wanted to buy this one. My problem is that with my current 6 3/4 inch wrist, the 45 millimeter radium mirror is a very large watch on me now. Uh, but I mean, listen, you've got heritage here. You've got
Sure.
one of the very few watches in its previous iteration. So we're clear it's not doesn't have a Rolex movement in it now, but Rolex actually made movement for the Italian military, which is where this watch comes from. Had that big resurgence in the 90s based on Sylvester Stallone's movie, and he went and bought everybody in the movie a Panerai. I think they're
His
awesome.
wrist is big enough, though. He could wear this.
Yeah, I mean, he's not that much bigger than I am, really. I was a little fatter now. I've been watching Tulsa, or what's that show
Oh,
called?
King of
King
Tulsa,
of
whatever it
Tulsa.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you got a little chubby now, but yeah, I like it. I think this is the for me, and again, people who are Panaristi, some
Yeah, yeah.
like the really, really rare and kind of strange styles. See the number one watch, oldest in our inventory for one of those. If you'd like to buy one, happy to give you a great deal on it. To me, the basic, kind of namesake Panerais
Yeah.
between the Luminor and the Radiomir, those are the ones to buy.
Yeah.
This watch is listed, I think, at just over 3 grand on the site. Doesn't have any kit with it, but you're paying very little money for it, and I think you get a hell of a lot of watch on your wrist for what that is.
Yeah. No, I would
You have
agree.
an opinion?
Super cool piece. I love the wire lugs. I just like, generally speaking, I like the crown, the way the crown looks. It's like kind of almost a nod to that pocket watch time frame. But yeah, I like the piece. I think it's one of those things where like if you want something that's a little different than the standard Panerai and you get past the Luminor and you get to the Radiomir, like I think that's basically one of those ones to kind of test out if you like the style, if it fits you well and all that kind of stuff from there. So what do we got next?
Well, remember the Radomir came first.
No, I got you.
We got a Spectre Aqua Terra. That's what I was wearing. I had to
That's
take it
cool.
off.
I like that
Why
a
don't you
lot.
why don't you take the lead on this one?
Oh, I mean, listen, I personally think the Aquaterra. I mean, we've talked about it a lot on this channel in general, but I think that Aquaterra kind of, and I don't want to steal too much because we are going to go a little bit more of a deep dive into it. But it's this perfect blend between formal and yacht party and going out and actually walking the beach or whatever. You could tell I get invited to a lot of yacht parties, obviously. But to me, it's like it's got a lot of date just, but it also has a little bit of that kind of edgy, more water resistance, a little bit more dive capabilities to it, and I like it a lot. So this one in particular, the Spectre one, it's got that kind of teak concept to it. So it's similar to it's kind of the modern. What you'd see is just the teak looks like it just kind of turned. What is that? 90 degrees. It went from vertical to horizontal on the more modern ones. This one here, I believe, is what the 8500 movement or something along those lines, if I remember
Yep.
correctly. 41.5 millimeters, so good size. It presents really well on the wrist. And this one, the I guess kind of the nod on the Spectre version in particular, and I don't know if you can see it super clearly in kind of the lighting that we have, but that blue dial was featured in one of the James Bond films. So that's kind of its claim to fame there. I don't know if we kind of tilt it one way or another, if we can see it a little bit better,
Yeah,
but
trying to do that just now.
yeah, yeah. So that
Yeah,
was
it's
kind of the claim to fame on this particular model of Aquaterra. So super cool, super wearable. obviously all the horology that goes into any of the Omega lineup. Anything to add on that one?
Just that I think, unfortunately, the blue's not coming super cool through on the stream here. Check the website. That blue is really, really good
Yeah.
looking. It is the Bond in a suit watch, jokingly, and I think it absolutely is that. And I think the blue really gives it a little bit of personality. It's funny. The next two that we're going to show are black, which are kind of the standard issue AT. But I think the blue kind of says something about somebody who wants to buy one. Just to shamelessly plug it, these are all the next couple of ATs that we're going to show, and all these Omegas are all full kits that we got that look incredible. So
Yeah.
they're really, really, really in nice shape. So you want to flip
Be
off
interested.
the
Yeah, I'll flip out of here, and then I'll be interested
Yep.
to see if it, anybody in the chat that starts to see some of the Aqua Terras, if you have an affinity towards one or the other, or one of the models versus some of the others that we have, or even if you have any comments on some of the stuff that we talked about in terms of the watch news for this week, some of the new releases. I know we had some kind of I wouldn't say outlandish, but some weird takes on some of that stuff. Wonder if you guys either agree, disagree, so on. But all right, what do we got up next? Am I ready to flip over?
Yeah, you can flip back over. Sure. Agree to disagree. Oh, so close.
This looks similar to the last one. Just a little
Yeah,
different.
so similar. So this is the more modern variation. So what is it? The 8700 movement.
8,900, I think, on these.
8900. I knew it was an odd number. 38 millimeters, so a little bit smaller. Actually
Yep.
fits me really nicely with the smaller wrist. Kind of a modern sweet spot. We talked a little bit about this on a stream or two ago. Somewhere in between that 36 millimeter date just size and the 41. The 38 is kind of split in the middle there. I think it's a very perfect size as far as that's concerned. This has got the horizontal teaking, which is the new design language. A little bit sharper case lines. The chamfers. Not to sound too technical, but the chamfers are really sharp coming down to the bracelet. And I mean, I think a watch like this is one of those things that, a lot of people talk about the one and done, or the buy it and never think about it again.
Sure.
I mean, this is the kind of watch that you literally have to take off once every 10 years to have it serviced. And other than that, you could wear it into the beach, you could wear it into the pool, you could do everything you ever want to do. It'll go to your board meeting, and it'll go on your surfboard. And that's a lot of boards.
From board to board.
What do you think?
No, I agree
board.
with you. I think, again, it's tough because we have a couple of these in stock, and we're also going to do a little bit more of a deep dive on the Aqua Terra in general. But I would agree. It's basically that sweet spot. The 38 millimeters, I think becomes. I feel like it was like we went with massive watches. Then we down. The trend was smaller a little bit, so then we went to kind of that 40, 41 sweet spot. And now I feel like they're trying to move that sweet spot down to like the 38, 39 millimeters. And I think, Omega's kind of always had an Aqua Terra that's kind of in that range, but I feel like, that's just become increasingly popular. We're seeing more of it on like the wholesale side, which means there's more people that are interested at the retail side. So cool piece.
Listen, I'm all for it with my 6 3/4 inch toothpick arm, so I'll take it.
Can you use an excuse to say your 6 3/4 inch wrist a couple more times? Like, what are we doing here, buddy?
Yeah. Can you tee it up
more like
one more time for me, big guy?
All right. Maybe you could get those wrists to put these things in the center of the lens. How do you feel about that?
No, they're too weak.
I love it. I'm sold.
Go ahead, talk about it. What is that?
So listen, I think we just talked about kind of the trend being a little bit smaller in terms of the watches. This is obviously, what is this, 39 and a half, I think technically on the sheet. Some people call it 40, some people call it 39. Speedmaster Racing. I think, one of the watches so probably my fourth watch that I bought as I started to get, a little bit more into, I would say, luxury watches was something like this. But it was the Breitling equivalent in the Chronomat, and it was the Black Eye Blue. And I remember people talking about the Black Eye Blue like it was something special. And it was not until like 2 years later that I realized like the black subdials with the blue, it just looks awesome. So I think this looks great. I think the guilloche on those subdials looks really cool. I think generally speaking, everything about this wears nice and tidy at 39 and a half. If you think the Moonwatch is just a little big for you, if you want more racing heritage, I think this is an awesome alternative. And for, really you save yourself, $1,000+ off what you might spend on a Moonwatch, even a Hesalite. So, great piece. I like it a lot. I think the dial looks great. I'm in. Sold.
Yeah, I think this is one of those ones that I almost agree with you 100% on. I love the race. This has got true racing heritage.
Sure.
Hello F1, if you're out there, ring up the Speedmaster line because you get real racing heritage here. Um, I think the carbon fiber look in the subdial is really awesome.
Yep.
I am sold everywhere across the board, and honestly, I think you're probably closer to $1,500 apart from a Moonwatch to this.
Sure.
And I think this has more personality than Moonwatch. Now, I've
Oof.
owned both. I've
Oof.
owned a racing and I currently own a Moonwatch, but I think this says a little more about you as having a broader, more nonconformist personality. If you put one of these on versus the traditional Moonwatch, but that's my
I'm gonna
hot
go
take.
with the hot take of the day on that one.
Hot take
It's a
of the
great
day.
piece. I like it a lot, but I don't know. Moonwatch has a very very special spot in most people's hearts. So, that being said, I think this is a great. I don't know that this is a replacement for a Moonwatch. I think this is a hey, you could buy
No.
this in addition to a Moonwatch. Yeah, I think it looks really great. I'm happy we have one. Hopefully, somebody's gonna
I'm
really
still
enjoy this when they get
negotiating
it.
on it, Joe. I didn't tell you about it. I started negotiating on one this morning, the older model of this with the full carbon fiber look, with the
Oh yeah,
carbon
yeah, yeah.
fiber insert. So that, knock on wood, we'll come to terms with that one because I think those are pretty awesome.
Nah, it's a cool looking piece too. All right,
Cool.
what
I think
else we
this is the
got here?
last Aqua Terra coming. Let me get it.
Another Aqua Terra, huh? Which one we got here?
Yeah, I wonder who bought all these Aqua Terras.
Listen, great pieces. How'd we do? You think
Great
we're centered?
pieces.
We think we're centered on this one or no?
Fingers crossed.
Oh, so
Oh,
close.
missing by the same amount every
That's
time.
all right. This is
There it
the
is.
black version similar to the Spectre, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically,
I
I
mean,
think the same watch as the Spectre, except in black. So,
yeah, not too much to add to this one. We do have someone who's very interested in this piece, so we'll see. I think we've been dancing around a little bit. I'm hoping we'll get this into his hands because I know it's for a super special occasion, and I would love to
yeah,
get it for him. But that all being said, I mean, not much to add here. This is similar to what we talked about in the Spectre. Again, same Aqua Terra wearability. Same Omega kind of watchmaking that you get in here, and just I don't know. The black maybe hits a little bit more formal, right?
yeah, I would agree. I think, to your point, this is a true epitome of do everything on the little bit sportier side than that 38.
Yeah.
Like if the 38's a little more refined, this is a little sportier. If you're a bigger dude, this is probably the watch that you're going to want to take with you to every adventure you could ever have.
Yep.
Again, this is one of those watches you could put it on for 15 years straight, and it'll do everything you ask it to do, and it'll have an awesome story at the end of the day. And I think sometimes, like, I think back to the founding notions behind Baker Street and like the stories that watches have to tell. And
For
this is
sure.
one of those watches that can really be a lifelong partner and have so many stories built into it. And at the end of the day, you still have an awesome timepiece to take with you. So, and leave on to the next generation to tell new stories with. So,
Yeah. No, 100%. Couldn't agree more. All right, so that's the last Aqua Terra. What other fun things we got in
yep.
stock here?
Well, normally we talk about, does the watch have any wear? Is there anything, going on with the watch? Pre-owned. Well, somebody, I don't know who let us have it, but we got ourselves a new watch. Let's
That's right.
see. I'm going to try really hard to get it into frame this time. Let's see.
Nailed it.
Oh, got it. Brand spanking new. Literally I just took the factory sticker off the case and the lens
Yeah.
just so we could get some better pictures, because if you look at the pictures online, they look silly. But yeah, this is a full brand new kit. You'll be the first one to take most of the stickers off of it, for one of the hottest tutors that's on the market right now.
Yeah.
Just came out last year. Keep me honest. I think it's a
Yeah.
brand new piece for last year.
Yep.
Go ahead. Tell me more.
So First off, I mean, I'm wearing it right now. Black Bay 58 is something that, we as a whole really, really enjoy. And in this one in particular, this takes everything about the Black Bay 58 and then moves it into kind of the GMT version of it. So Coke, GMT, Black Bay 58, all of the proportions that we've come to know and love from the Black Bay 58. And then they decided to make it the equivalent of kind of the Pepsi GMT, but smaller. And I think, my biggest complaint when I owned the Tudor Black Bay 41s was they're just slabby on the sides. So until they got into the Meta certified, until they changed the movement over, those first original ones, right after the ETA movement, when they started to put the Tudor in-house movement into it, they were just super thick. And I think when you got to the 58, right, newer movement, 58 was a little bit thinner, wore a little bit better, in my opinion. And this is basically the same thing, but you get the addition of the GMT function. So it's a true GMT. It looks great. It's brand new. I think this one's dated 26, right? I mean, it's like basically fresh.
Yeah, January 26.
January of
It's
26.
fresh inventory. Yeah.
Fresh. And really, when you look at it, I mean, Tudor is not a brand that really discounts off new. So if you're looking for something that's basically a brand new watch from Tudor at a discount, that's what we're here for. So super cool piece. Yep. Love it. I would wear it. If it was acceptable for me to put it on, I would do it, but we're not going to do that because it's new.
Yeah, since it is new, we're fighting our urges to finish unwrapping it and wearing it. I will give you one more point of view on this watch, which is as a
Sure.
Rolex GMT Master owner, and I own two of them. One of them is a Coke from the late mid 2000s. I think the big difference here is the gilt accents on this watch warm this watch up in a way that is very different than the Rolex version. And I may go out on a limb here, but I've been doing that all afternoon, so why not? Yeah, king of the hot takes for the day. This bracelet and wearability is better feeling on the wrist than the 2007 GMT Master Coke that I own upstairs.
Yeah.
And you're paying roughly 30% less. I'm sorry, roughly 60% less. My math is terrible. Yeah, you're paying probably 30% of the GMT Coke that I have upstairs, and you're getting as good a movement IMO.
Better.
You're getting a better feeling watch all around, and you're getting a warmer look. So that's my hot take, and it's coming from the guy who owns the other one. So,
yeah, no, listen, we've not shied away from the fact that we love the Black Bay 58s. This is obviously no exception to that. So, for somebody who's looking for that, it's up on the website. You can grab it. It is true new, and we're looking to find somebody who wants that one.
Yeah, new home. I will give you a little insider information on the BST Baker Street Timepieces side. There is currently a race going on behind the scenes between which brand we sell more of, Tudor or Omega. And as of right now, Omega inched out Tudor. So somebody buy this Tudor so that we can get Tudor back in the lead,
Yeah, it's funny. We have a lot of Omega coming in still too. So
yeah, we have more Omega coming.
Might be hard.
But yeah.
I
Anyway,
think that wraps up
speaking of Omegas,
our inventory for the day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all the new inventory for this week so far. Next week we may need a double session just to go through it, because I honestly think we'll have 12 for next Sunday's kind of feedback. So
some fun stuff though, guys. I think it's all stuff you'll enjoy. So hopefully we'll have some good things to throw up there for you.
And a couple other Tudors coming too. A couple of interesting Tudors, not your run-of-the-mill Black Bays. Couple of more out-of-the-box Tudors. So,
yes, sir. All right,
cool.
So we've done the evidence locker, we've done the dispatch. Now I guess we pose the question and talk about which Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra should you buy. And the question can be answered simply: all of them. No, just kidding. But I think when we look at it, we'll do a little bit of a deep dive on the Aqua Terra history. We'll talk through kind of some of the size availability that Omega's put out there, and then we'll talk about some of the dial colors and some of the notable pieces. Unfortunately, we had a bunch of them in stock, so you've seen a lot of it already. So we've talked through some of that. But I think realistically speaking, the Aqua Terra I think hit in 2002. And I guess Aqua Terra is basically sea and land, or sea and earth is I guess the direct translation. And I think the thought process behind it was to have something that you could wear out on the water, and you could also wear it back when you get kind of back on land. So that idea of like, hey, out on the water, out on a fishing expedition, whatever, get home, get changed, shower up, I hope, and then you go to a
Mm.
board meeting, whatever that is. And it's basically that watch that takes you from one to the next. And I think we hit on it a little bit, Tim. I know you mentioned it. It's like that go everywhere, do everything watch that everybody's looking for. And I
Yep.
truly do believe it does that. Right,
Yeah.
the polished bezel is pretty formal when it needs to be. A little bit of a scratch magnet when you're out and about, but at the same time, pretty easy to polish back up. But then it also kind of has that little bit more formal feel to it when you put it back on. It's on a bracelet. It shines nicely when you're in kind of a more formal setting. So, thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree pretty much across the board. I think the 150-meter water resistance is a little bit of a hi, how you doing to Rolex's 100. Uh, you know, there's no doubt that this has set its sight at the date just in a lot of
Yeah,
ways. And I think they were very strategic in naming it as a Seamaster because they
yeah,
wanted to pull in a little bit more of that rugged diver capability from, as you think about comparing it to, let's say, a Submariner. Um, but the thing that really jumps off the page at me, and what I was just thinking about as you were going through the history, right? Even though this watch is history starts in 2002 and a little different than kind of the Rolex that it's going after, which started in the 40s, right? Maybe even a little earlier than that. I think this almost gets it better. That buy one, do everything. This is your grandfather's watch, right? He bought one watch, wore it every day, used it for everything he did, and it would survive all that. And I think, to Omega's credit, what they attempted to do, I think they've accomplished,
yeah,
which is to make it an improvement in almost every way over the Datejust. Again, I don't own one of these. I own a Datejust, so we'll go there.
yeah.
But I do think that they had, they took a very tough task in the engineering room and delivered something that is pretty much objectively better in a lot of ways across the board against the Datejust. So
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like when you look at the Aquaterra, it has obviously a lot of Datejust DNA, right? Smooth bezel, and like the way I look at it is like if I wanted a smooth bezel Datejust, I kind of almost like this is a little bit of a hot take. I kind of almost like the Aquaterra better for that. However, I think
mhm.
the Datejust with a fluted bezel still obviously has a place. They're different
Yeah,
watches to me. I mean, I just
yeah,
don't feel like I would wear a Datejust fluted bezel out on a fishing trip. Plenty of people would, and I totally respect it.
yeah,
But for
yeah.
me, I'd rather have an Aquaterra that I wear for that. I mean, I have a summer blue Aquaterra. It's got a scratch on the like a legitimate scratch, not just like a oh I scratched it. It's like serious, and it's from actually being in your pool. I was jumping out to get a football and I scratched the whole thing, but I was wearing it doing Aquaterra things. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and that's what I think that watch is designed for. And I think that they did a great job of kind of making it that exact watch. Um,
Yep.
Trying to think like from
We
a
talked a little bit
evolution.
about
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, we talked a little bit about the evolution because we had some of the evolution to show. So we didn't have
Yeah.
the oldest variation of the Aquaterra today to go over, but we
Yeah.
had kind of the middle one and then the more modern one, which has the horizontal peaking. That's the
Yep.
38 millimeter that we went over. You get the little bit better movement. So I think that's kind of cool. I think the teak pattern as a general statement and is a cool differentiator. It reminds me, obviously, and it's designed to remind you of kind of boating, which is kind of keeps going back to what Joe's been saying about fishing. Um, I think that at the end of the day, you again, you just have kind of a buy once, do everything kind of a watch. One of the things that I was thinking about, we were talking about before the stream, I also think it pulls in some design elements from the Grand Seiko line. And I
Mm,
think that Omega, again, if Omega wants to hire me for back end thinking, I'm
there you go.
here. Um, I think that they would do a smart move by releasing super limited edition. I'm talking about like sub 100 watches in like those really crazy dial designs like you have on the Grand Seikos. So
Mm,
kind of steal from that. And I think you would get a collectability aspect and not have it just be the, starter Omega, so to speak. That's my
yeah.
opinion. Another hot take coming from
I'd
Baker
say
Street South.
a little less of a hot take. But I get what you're saying. I think, obviously they've continued as they've made advancements in movements, they've continued to put that into the Aquaterra. So like you talked about, there was the first one was ETA, not necessarily coaxial, then it went to coaxial, then it went to, I think the newest one is obviously is meta certified, the whole 9 yards. So it's like continued to advance in innovation for the movement. Obviously
Yep.
putting those into the Aquaterra lineup like you talked about. But like really, what other watch would you buy in that price range that delivers the same quality as what you're talking about in the Aquaterra? Like you're talking about on the pre-owned market in that, sub $5,000 price range for most of these pieces. Like I think you have some of the Elegance collection from Grand Seiko you could target. I think other than that, like I mean maybe the IWC kind of Mark 10 or whatever it is similar, but not necessarily the same. It's very different in terms of like kind of what it's accomplishing. But like I don't know. There's just not that much. I feel like, unless you're buying an older like 1601 or something like that just to have it. I don't know. It's kind of got its little carved out market, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I think that, again, the couple things that we talked about earlier that I think are really awesome is the a little bit extra dive range. Not that that matters practically, but it does matter. There's a
Yeah.
certain amount of that that matters. I think the fact that, the vast majority of your Rolex Datejust have a very plain dial, having this teaking option gives you something that's a little bit more um, it shows up a little bit bigger and is not so it's not so plain Jane.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I think that you have a couple of wilder color options that are available. Maybe in lesser known models and references, but you have some options there. Yeah, and then you could just be basic, and you could go buy a black one, and again have something that will last you 2 lifetimes and do everything you need it to do, and you
Yeah.
never even have to take it off your wrist. You could
Yeah. Yeah.
probably just sleep with it and it just stay running forever. So
It's probably true.
yeah,
I guess last thing I would close out about from an Aquaterra perspective is I would say they kind of took the teak dial. Now they've added like kind of that gloss black dial. I know there's the turquoise, which looks absolutely awesome. I've only tried
yeah,
it on, but I haven't had one in inventory yet. And then I know that they kind of very, very slight adjustments to the bracelet on that one. That's like almost more like a presidential style bracelet.
yep.
So I guess they continue to invest in it and kind of continue to evolve that line. So I think it's not going away. You'll see it for a long time, and I hope to get some of the newer models in with some of the gloss finishes too, so we can kind of compare and contrast all the lineup. But generally speaking, I think as a go everywhere, do everything, even if it's like a first watch in the collection, I think this is certainly one to put in the running with some of the tutors and things of that nature. So I'm a big fan.
I'll throw one giant caveat in there. You gotta buy it pre-owned.
Yeah,
Because we were talking about this pre-stream. Because if you walk into the Omega boutique and you buy one of these for 8 grand, it's gonna hurt when it's worth half that
yeah, yeah,
in a year.
yeah,
Buy these pre-owned. Not only does it keep Joe and I in business, and we keep making funny streams for you guys, but at the end of the day, you save yourself a lot of heartache
yeah,
by buying it, 1 year old or even 2 months old. And you're
yeah.
still going to save thousands for yourself, and you're going to get an awesome watch. I'll be honest with you. I mean, Joe, I think we should close out this section with what you or I would buy. Doesn't have to be in our inventory, but if you kind of have a cheat because you already own one. But if you had to buy another Aquaterra right now, what would you buy?
Oof. Okay. So I would. It's a toss up for me between the one I own, obviously, Summer Blue Aquaterra,
Yeah,
which I think the dial is just insane, and I love the rubber strap. I could talk about it for more, but I won't. And I think I would actually want to look at the turquoise one that's new. I'd
cool.
want to actually throw that on. Go ahead.
Having gone through all the ones that I just processed this week that we bought, and the ones that we already had, and the ones that you've already owned, this Spectre that's on my wrist is what I would buy. I
Yeah.
think you could get this at the exact right price point. I think the blue gives it a pop of personality,
Yeah.
but it's not so much personality that you can't put it underneath a dark gray suit and go to a funeral if you had to,
Yep.
and then fight bad guys on the way home from said funeral as Bond.
Yeah.
Bond doesn't
Listen,
get
it's
anything
what
wrong,
spies do.
so it's what spies do. I think
Um.
that's it. We're like 50 minutes deep into this sucker. I think we need to wrap it up. What do you got
Yeah.
to? What do you want to? What do you want to finish off with?
I would just say, I mean, thanks for anybody who's been out there listening. If there's any questions, I haven't seen too much. I know there's been some back and forth, but nothing too crazy. If there's any questions or anything you want us to cover on our next stream, feel free to shout us out on that. I would re-shout out the merch. It's been launched as of last week. If you check out the website, there's a couple of ways to obviously get your hands on some free merch. Other than that, we appreciate anybody who supports and grabs it. Really, I think it's some cool stuff, and I think it looks great. So that's just my personal opinion. Big shout out to Larissa. But then, other than that, I would say, feel free to kind of, keep in touch on our Instagram. If there's anything that you want us to cover on these streams going forward, drop a line there. We're certainly open to, having a conversation, and we'd love to get more kind of involvement from the people in the chat. If there's things that you want to speak up about, like, throw it out there. We're happy to, go back and forth on stuff live. We're not worried about that at all. And other than that, I think that's kind of what I got. Anything on your end?
Yeah, I think I echo almost everything you just said. I think one thing I would be really interested in, and whoever's listening, shoot us a line, however you want to get in touch with us. Obviously, there's a million different ways to do it. I'm interested in, like, what other watches could we stock in that, like, our sweet spot seems to be 2,500 to 5,000, right? What are we missing? What does the audience say is another sweet spot watch in there that's not a Speedmaster, Seamaster, Aqua Terra? What else is in that price point that you would like to see us discuss more? I know for me, I'm thinking Grand Seiko. We haven't had a Grand Seiko in a while, but I would love to hear what anybody else's opinion is on that. And maybe we can make Joe go out and buy one this week, so we can have something to talk about for next week. That is influenced by the crew. But if that's the end of it, I think that's today's case file. I think we can close the case for today, and we'll see you guys next Sunday with some new stuff. And that'll be the day before I head out for my vacation. No, week before. I won't be around the following week. So, something like that. Weeks, days, whatever. Time.
Thank you all for listening.
Relative. Thanks, everybody.
Case closed.
Case closed.